This is Gemara Avodah Zarah Daf. Hey, I'm holding in the bottom of Dalit Amud Beis. We're halfway through these very wide lines at the two dots, which the Gemara quotes a simin, Yoimei Taref Veigal simin, and we're learning multiple dinim of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. We already quoted two prior, and now we're going to quote another two. Kufa Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Maidich Sev. What is the meaning of the pasuk? That I command you today, la'asaisam, to do it. Says the Gemara, hayoim la'asaisam, v'loi le'mocher la'asaisam. Today is when you do, not tomorrow. Lasalavai, it's too late. Hayoim la'asaisam, v'loi hayolit al scharan. Today you do it, but today is not for reward. Of course, that's lasalavai. Number two, Amr Shimon Levi called mitzvah Yisrael Yisim Mazeh. Boys, me to say something and he mitzvah do in this world comes and gives testimony for us in the next world. Shenemar. Yinu David Yisrael Yishma V'Yamru Emes. Yinu Deim Yitztaku. What does that mean? Elu Yisrael. Yishma V'Yamru Emes. Elu Oivdi Kachavin and Lasalavai. The Goyim are going to be the ones to come and say MS to that which we do. V'amar Rabbi Shimon Levi number 3. Kol mitzvahis. Sheisalasim b'lamazeh. Any mitzvah we do in this world. Boys, 6 lines in the bottom. V'tarfos the sound of the chavim l'olam haba. Come and beat the Avodah Zarah in the next world. Al peneyem, on their face. Shenemar. Ushmartem v'asisem ki chachmaschem u'v'nas chaleni amin neged ha'amim lo'nemar. Doesn't say opposite the nation. Elalei ne'amin milamid shebois v'tarfas la'akam al paneim l'olam haba. That our mitzvahs come and smack the goyim on their face in the next world. And 4 lines from the bottom. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, a 4th statement. Lasi Yisrael as eagle Ella. Lite bischan bela v'alei tshuva. Klal Yisrael made the eagle only to give encouragement, to have an excuse for those who want to do tshuva. Of course, this can't mean this was why they do it. It means that this is perhaps a toitzah, an offshoot of that which they did. Shenemar miten levavam zeh lahem lira yisay kolam de gaimer. V'hainu them Rabbi Yechon Shimon Yochai. Loi David Roi Loi say Ma'isa. David Amelech was not Roi to the Ma'isas Vasheva. V'lo Yisrael Ruin Loi say Ma'isa, and Klal Yisrael was not Roi. Lo David Roi Loi say Ma'isa Chsev L'Libi Cholel L'Bekirbi, as the pasuk says, in my heart, the Yitzhar has died within me. V'lo Yisrael Ruin Loi say Ma'isa, on the last line, T'chsev Mi'itein V'yilavavam Zeh Lem L'Yira Yisi Kol Yamim. Ella, if this is true, so lama asu. If they weren't ready for it, so why in the end did they do such an act? Loimer lacha. This teaches us as we turn over to Hey Amid Aleph, says the Gemara Shibchata Yachid Aimer Lai Klach Eitzel Yachid. Go Eitzel Yachid. Go to David Amelech. You see, he didn't have air and he did tshuva. So to you. V'chata Sibur Amrim Lo. We tell him Kach Eitzel Sibur Gans Klal Yisrael did a terrible act, and they received their kapara as well. Says the Gemara in Sricha, why do we need both? Why do we need both the chet of David HaMelech and the chet of Hegel? Diashvin in Yachid just by David Misham Delay Mefarsim Chatai, it was in public. Aval Tzibur de Mefarsim Chatai Emalai Diashvin and Tzibur. Why? Misham Delay Mishirachim Hashem sees God's Klal Yisrael. Of course he's gonna have Rachman, one might think. Aval Yachid, but it's a singular act. Lo Yalima Zechute, they don't have that many acts. Zechusim Emalai, they can't do tshuva. Sricha, that's why both were necessary. And says the Gemara, V'hainu, and this fits with Rabbi Yishmael bar Nachmani, that which Yishmael bar Nachmani taught us. Amar Rav Yonis and Maidich Sev, what is the meaning of the pasuk? Nom David ben Yishai, Nom Hagever, Hukam. What do we do? Hukam Al. Says the Gemara, Nom David ben Yishai, what is that? Sheikim Oila L'Tshuva. That David HaMelech established Ushahekim Ula Shel Tshuva, who established the benefit of Tshuva, that one can now come back and realize the power of Tshuva via the Maisa of David HaMelech. Says the Gemara of Amar of Shlomo bar Nachmani Amar Rav Yonis, and we're 10 lines down. First line is Bar Nachmani. The Gemara is going to take a little bit of a left turn, quoting just another memra of Rav Shlomo bar Nachmani. Says the Gemara, Kol Eisa Mitzvah Achas Beilam Hazeh You do a mitzvah in this world, it goes before you in the next world. Shenemar, it envelops it and leads him to the day of judgment. Shenemar, they were enveloped by their own actions, etc. And adds the Gemara of Lazar Omer Kshura by Kikelef, that if someone does an Aveira, the act is tied to him like a dog. Shenemar L'Shem Alei L'Shakiv Etzla Liyos Ima. L'Shakiv Etzla means B'Elam Hazeh. Liyos Ima, the action does not leave him. Ba'Elam Haba. Continues the Gemara, Amar Reish Lakish, back to a subtopic that we mentioned a moment ago, which was what? Igel Azav. Says Reish Lakish, we should go and say thank you. Show gratitude to our forefathers. If they didn't do an Aveira, we would never have come into this world. Says the Gemara, this means to say, does this mean to say if they had not done Aveira, they would not have had children? Excuse me. But it was halacha, there's a commandment to Pru'urvu. So how can it be that only because they did this Aveira, cream the mitzias of offsprings, it can't be, it's a mitzvah in the Torah. Says the Gemara on the second to last line at Sinai. This is only until our Sinai, but at our Sinai they would have become like Malachim, explains the Mefarshim Rashi, and therefore they would not have had children anymore. Asking Mar, wait, go back to your tents. Seemingly that after our Sinai, go back and have children, to your tents, to your families. Says the Gemara, no, it would have just been l'simchas aina, but it wouldn't have actually produced children. On the first medium-sized line, that the pasuk seems to indicate that there will be children. Answers Gemara, no. Means also I'm the Har Sinai. I've Reish Lakish Ma'idach saves as Sefer told us Adam v'Gomer. V'chisefer Oila Ladam Arishim Lamed. Shar like Kadosh Baruch Ladam Arishim Dar v'Dar Shav each generation and its offsprings Dar v'Chacham of Dar v'Parnasav. Kiv Shagia l'Dar Shav v'Akiva Sameach v'Tayrasav and Hisatzei b'Misasa. He was happy with his life and he was sad with his death. Amar says Adam Arishim v'Ali, and to me my Yoku Reyecha. El, how precious are your thoughts, Hashem's? What do we see? We see that there's going to be Yidden all the way to Rabbi Akiva. So how could it be that at Har Sinai Ba'atzem, the Yidden should have stopped having children? And furthermore, it says Rav Yesi, Ben David Mashiach is not going to come till all the neshamas are vacated from the Guf, till all the children that need to be born are born. Ki ruach milavnei yatav and neshama zani asisi. Says the Gemara, loy tema anu loy banu la'ilam. Says the Gemara, you're right. When Reish Lakish said above loy bau la'ilam, he did not mean that we would not have come into the world. Elokimi, as if shalai banu la'ilam. Says the Gemara, maybe this means to say that if they would not have sinned, they would not have had any death. I would say Parshas Yivamais, which clearly comes after death. Parshas Nachalois, inheritance after death. Answers the Gemara, you're right. Al Tanai, the Torah wrote it if this ends up happening. Ask the Gemara, Miksivi Kral, Tanai is such an entity possible that the Torah is writing something conditionally. Says Gemara, yes, in the Hachi Amar of Shimon Lakish Ma'idach Sevi Arba Verki Mashishi Malamed Shizdak Kodesh Baruch Hu Ma'isa Bereishis V'Amar Im Kam L'Yisrael As HaTorah Mutav It's Kod V'Im Lav Ach Zir Eschem the Torah V'Avam to roll the world back. So we see the Torah does indeed talk Al Tanai. Meisvei asked the Gemara, Mi'iten V'Levavam Zeh Lohem. We can assure that his heart shall remain theirs. Says the Gemara, what does it mean in the end of the pasuk that it will be good? Levato mehem malach hamavis yef shekabin. There will be no more malach hamavis. Shekranik zigzera. Holy kibli Yisrael satayra. Rather, what does it mean if Klal Yisrael did not accept the Torah? Elikadesh shel te'um of lashon shalatas b'hem. The Goyim would not have any power. Shenemar l'mani yitav lahem ulivneihem ad ha'olam. So says more. What do we see? we see that clearly death is a metzias of this world. So how could there have been a suggestion that there would be no more death? Answers the Gemara. Reish Lakish holds 2 lines from the white lines. Hu da'amar ki aitana dan Rav Yossi Omer lo kibli yisel satayra al kedei shtei melech ha'mav yishadu b'hem shenamar ni amarti alem atem v'ni el yoin kolchem chavaltem ma'aseichem achin ka'adam tumuson. So says the Gemara, there was a tzad that there'd be no more Yetzer Hara. Rav Yossi Nami asked the Gemara, Aksev l'manitav lem l'neim ad olam. It says there'll be children forever, which applies to Udahavia Hamisa Ika. That goodness will be there if the Jews listen to the Torah, but it'll always be death. So how could Rav Yossi have suggested now? Rav Yossi Amar l'chakim and the leka misa. Ein l'cha taiva gedol mizu. What does it mean that Edom will get taiva? Meat. There would have been no death. V'tanakama says the Gemara, Nami Aksev achin kadam to Musan. My Misa answers Gemara means Anios. They wouldn't have died if they'd been poor. Damar Mar, famously, Aracha Shuvin Kemesim on the 4th very well line. 4 consider like they're dead. Eluhein, Ani Suma Mitzaira, Mishain Leibanim, someone without children, someone with leprosy, Tzaras, a blind person, and an Ani. Ani Dechsev, Ki Mesikol Anashim. Who is that? Doesn't have Aaron. Says Gemara, Mi Mesu, doesn't really die. Mio Ave, Ella, she has been saying they had no money, and that's called death. Suma number 2, Dechsev, Machshechem Shivani Kimisi Olam, Mitzair Dechsev, El Nati Kemes, Umisha in Labanim Dechsev, Havali Banim Vimein, Masa Misa Anochi. If I don't have any children, it's as if I'm dead, says the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanon, 4 lines on the bottom, says the Gemara, Ein im, if im, Im ein im elo lashe tachanunim, means the supplication that Hashem really wanted us. Im b'chukai, say please, im tachanunim, do my Torah. V'cheinu aimer simply silu ami shamei ali kamar oivehem achniya v'aimer lu kashem l'misoisav yikenar shalamecha v'yikichol zarecha v'setzecha me'echa. We see Hashem really desires, of course, for us to follow the Torah. Tana Rabbanan, 3 lines from the bottom. Mi'itain v'levav v'levavcha mi'itain v'levav v'zel zel could ensure that the heart will remain theirs. Them Moshni Yisrael kafui toiva b'nei kfuyei toiva. You ingrates. B'shash Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael mi'itain v'levav zel lehem. Haydem leimer no. Klal Yisrael should have said tenata. Klal Yisrael should have said, you are the ones that should make sure that we are tzaddik and we are righteous. However, Klal Yisrael did not do that, because then they would always have been indebted to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kifuyi taiva, how else? Techsev, the pasuk says, V'nafshenu katza, Klal Yisrael said, and our souls are disgusted. This is Klal Yisrael in the Midbar. As we turn over to Lamed Hey Amid Beis, says the Gemara, Belechem haklokel, with the bread. B'nei kifuyi taiva, what does that mean? Techsev, V'yisha shenasat imadi, Hunaslim in Eitz v'Eichel Adam Arishon, blaming Chava for that which happens. Moshe Rabbeinu Loi Ramz Alehem, says the Gemara. Even Moshe Rabbeinu did not allude to Yisrael Alachar B'M Shana that this would have been only after the 40 years that passed. Shenemar v'Oilech Eschem b'Midbar B'M Shana Uksev Loi Nasan Shem Lochem Le'Evigaymer. Amar Rabba Shema Mina. What do we see from here? Like Koyinish Adaiti the Rabbi out of B'M Shana takes 40 years. To understand that the Rebbe Moshe Rabbeinu took 40 years to realize the level of Kafui Toiv for Klal Yisrael. We are 8 lines down. Hey Amid Beis, says the Gemara. First one line is Shinin. Amar Rav Yechon Shav Rabbina. Ma'idach sev Ashreichem Zayrei. Praiseworthy are those who plant al kol mayim in all waters, mishalchei regel ashar v'chamar, who send forth the feet of the ox and the donkey. This means Ashreim Yisrael. Then what? Yitzhar Maser b'yadam, the Yetzer Hara is given to your hands, ve'ein hey masrum b'yad Yitzhar, and you are not given over to your Yetzer Hara. Shemar Shechem Zarei al kol mayim ve'ein ziriya el tzedakah, as we said. Shemar Zarei lachem tzedakah v'kutzur l'fei chesed v'mayim el Torah. Shemar heavy called sami l'chul mayim v'shalchei regel ashar v'chamar. Tanad ve'elyo la'olam yasim adam atzma al divrei Torah k'shar la'oil chamar l'masai. We see the incredible trifecta of Torah, of Chesed, of Tzedakah, and then the Yetzer Hara will not have the power over someone else. We continue today's shir, and we'll actually conclude today's shir. We're at the 2 dots halfway down, going back to the Mishnah, really the first din of this Masechta. which is what? Shleisha Yamim Asla now do business with the guy in 3 days surrounding their Yom and Tovim. Ask the Gemara, Bina Kuliyad, do we really need this? Vatanan, we learned in the Mishnah. 4 times a year you sell an animal to your friend. You have to let him know. You have to let him know that because you want to make sure that he doesn't buy the mother and the daughter on the same day. You have to let him know, Ima macharti lishchait, I sold you the mother for slaughter earlier, or biti nasati macharti lishchait. Why? Because we want to make sure that he's not over the isser of shechting the mother and the child on the same days. And when are these dates? Ve'elohein, Erev Yontav Achar Shal Chag of Sukkos, Erev Yontav Shal Pesach, Erev Atzer Shvus, Erev Rosh Hashanah, Uchtav Yosei Glidi Av Erev Yom Kippurim. So says the Gemara, in these cases, what do you have to warn? Only on Erev Yontif. So says the Gemara, I don't understand. We see that you're certainly not buying an animal 2 or 3 days prior to Yontif, and therefore the warning in this halacha of shechting a mother, a parent, and the child, you only have to tell Erev. In our Mishnah, it seems that you up to 3 days before a Chag, a holiday, it might be for that. Says the Gemara, Av Erev Yom Kippur, Big Halil. Answers the Gemara, Hasam de l'achila sagya. The Mishnah there is talking about when you buy it for eating, sagya b'yachad yom is enough one day. Hacha, but over here in our Mishnah, about the lakrava bean, and you're buying it for a carbon, or I say the goyim are buying it for a carbon. Tlasa yom lakrava could be for 3 days. They're going to bring tlasa yomi for 3 days. Ask the Gemara lakrava, the opposite extreme now. Sagi b'tlasa yomi v'tanan sheilim bilchas ha'pesach b'etzl shashiyim reshvag yomer sheisha b'asais. So what do we see? We see that the time period to repair is really 30 days prior. Answers the Gemara, Nadish mumin os yedin. There's many mumin, pasli, feel a bedukin shabayin, even a little scratch, cataract in the eye, being into loss in yamin. Therefore, that's why we need 30 days to make sure the animal's kosher. But eno the goyim, the machoser aver, even if it's missing an aver, it'll still be kosher. That's when it's a problem. Islu tlasa yami sagi for 3 days. It's enough for them to inspect their animals. That's the issue. Bring an animal that is going to live, that it's all healthy, you can't be missing a full limb. And therefore says the Gemara, that's why you have to only within 3 days, because that's the time period that a guy is going to buy an animal potentially for his Avodah Zarah, and he's going to go say thank you to the Avodah Zarah that he bought such a beautiful animal, and that's why for 3 days the commerce between the guy has to be lessened. Whereas we have both angles, buying for a real Yantiv is Erev, Karbanis is up to 30 days. Pick it up from here, B'siyata Dishmaya.